Imagine, you are standing on a plot of raw, overgrown land in northern Portugal.
Okay.
You are trying to build this totally functional eco-retreat from scratch.
Right.
And, you've got a budget of exactly 11,000 euros.
Which is, frankly, nothing in construction terms.
Exactly. It's nothing.
Right.
Plus, you have a ticking clock of just 21 days.
Ah.
Oh, and tens of thousands of people are watching your every move live.
It sounds super stressful, honestly.
Right. It's a scenario that feels, less like a fun DIY weekend and way more like trying to break out of an escape room.
Yeah.
But someone is live streaming it to the whole world, and you literally have to build the exit door yourself out of, reclaimed wood and shipping pallets.
It's actually the perfect analogy for it.
So today, for this deep dive, we aren't just looking at, some guy with a hammer. We are dissecting the leaked pitch documents and the whole showrunner strategy behind this wild documentary series called 21 Days to Build a Retreat.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
It really is. We are exploring how the creator and the main builder, Paul, takes this grueling physical construction project and turns it into an absolute masterclass in audience engagement.
Yeah, the strategy documents behind this whole project are, they're a complete departure from the typical build shows you might find yourself, just scrolling past on a Sunday afternoon.
Oh, totally.
Because think about it. We are basically conditioned to expect one of two extremes in this genre, right?
Yeah.
You either get the manufactured reality TV drama.
Where someone is throwing a paint can across the room because the client changed their mind about a kitchen backsplash.
Exactly, that completely fake conflict. Or on the other end, you get those hyper-caffeinated toxic positivity vlogs. You know the one.
Where the creator's just shouting at you to crush it while they flawlessly pour a perfect concrete slab.
Right. And it all looks so easy. But Paul's architectural strategy for this series, it actively rejects both of those models. His foundational philosophy is just brutal, unvarnished honesty.
Which is rare.
Super rare. The pitch explicitly promises to show the fatigue, the miscalculations, and the literal sweat equity of a 21-day sprint. No hidden budgets, no fake arguments to, spike the algorithm.
That level of transparency sounds incredibly refreshing for anyone who is just exhausted by the usual manufactured content online.
Absolutely.
But the immediate logistical problem that comes to my mind is pacing.
Okay, how so?
Well, if you just set up a tripod and film 3 weeks of exhausting, repetitive physical labor, you are going to bore your audience to tears by, day 4.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
There has to be some underlying architecture to the narrative itself. Otherwise, it's literally just watching paint dry, or I guess in this case, watching mortar cure.
Which brings us to the core storytelling philosophy that is mapped out in his pitch documents. He calls it the emotional rhythm.
The emotional rhythm.
Right, because human psychology dictates that you and I, as viewers, we just cannot sustain a state of high anxiety or high drama constantly.
No, we just tune out.
Exactly. If the tension never breaks, we tap out. So Paul engineered a very specific repeating cycle to pace the release of that tension. The rhythm is, and this is brilliant, 2 quiet days, followed by 1 drama day, followed by a reset beat.
Okay, 2 quiet, 1 drama, reset.
Yes. The viewer needs space to breathe right alongside the creator. You will actually never see 2 10 out of 10 drama days scheduled back-to-back in this show.
Wow.
And the documents categorize the footage into 3 distinct episode types to keep this rhythm going.
Oh, do they?
First, you have the build episodes. These are high-energy days filled with visible progress and momentum.
Like good vibes, basically.
Right. Think of day 5, which is titled Excavator Day.
Oh, I remember that one.
Yeah. The heavy machinery arrives, the landscape is physically transforming before your eyes, the drone shots are super sweeping and cinematic. It triggers that deep psychological satisfaction of seeing order imposed on chaos.
Okay, so you hook the viewer with the satisfaction of visible progress.
Exactly.
But a story without friction isn't really a story, right? It's just a montage.
Yeah. Right, which leads directly into the second type of episode, the drama days.
So this is where things actually go wrong.
Yes, this is where the physical reality of the challenge asserts itself. So a critical measurement is off by 2 centimeters, or a tool breaks, or just the sheer compounding exhaustion of the timeline hits a wall.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But immediately following that friction, you need the third type of episode to decompress. And the pitch calls this the emotional episode.
How does an emotional episode look different from a drama one?
They're defined by a sudden absence of action. They rely on silence, Reflection, raw human connection.
Oh, interesting.
A prime example in the outline is day 7, which marks the end of the first grueling week. The editing pace just slows down entirely.
I think I know the scene you're talking about.
Yeah, Paul is simply sitting by this makeshift fire pit in the dirt. The camera holds really steady on his face, and he just reflects on the milestone. He says, we have a place now. It serves as a psychological reset beat for both the builder and the audience before the whole cycle starts over again.
Okay, I have to challenge the premise here, though.
Go for it.
The very moment you start putting drama and emotions onto a pre-planned production schedule, doesn't the whole project become inherently fake?
That's a fair question.
Because, if I look in my calendar and see that next Tuesday is scheduled to be my drama day, I'm no longer really documenting a build, I'm just acting out a script.
And that is actually the most common pitfall in documentary filmmaking. But the distinction here, and this is key, is framing versus faking.
Framing versus faking.
Right. They aren't staging the friction. Think about it. When you are attempting to construct a functional retreat in the blistering Portuguese summer on an ultra-thin €11,000 budget, the friction is absolutely guaranteed.
Yeah, that's true.
You are absolutely going to hit a wall. Materials will inevitably fail. Your body will give out. Paul's genius is simply anticipating the predictable psychological arc of extreme physical effort.
Ah, I see.
He isn't inventing the hardship. He's just mapping his story structure to the inevitable reality of the timeline. So he's making the natural chaos digestible for you watching at home.
So framing the inevitable rather than faking the impossible.
Exactly. Beautifully put.
That makes total sense. But taking on that authentic struggle, it introduces a massive operational risk, doesn't it?
Oh, huge.
If the friction is real, how does he ensure these naturally occurring drama days don't just entirely derail his strict 21-day deadline?
Right.
An €11,000 budget leaves zero margin for error. Losing a single afternoon could mathematically doom the entire project.
And this is where the production strategy completely inverts conventional logic. The drama mechanics designed into the show are actually utilized as catalysts to accelerate the physical labor.
Wait, really? Accelerate it?
Yes. Instead of letting a setback stall the momentum, Paul weaponizes the constraints to force productivity.
How does he do that?
Let's examine the mechanics of day 3. The objective for the day is to finish a massive access road. Now, instead of just grinding through the manual labor and complaining, he introduces a public high-stakes variable. He turns it into a race against the sunset.
Oh, I love that.
Right. A digital timer is superimposed on the screen for the viewers, and a wager is made. If the crew finishes before the sun dips below the horizon, João, who is the local Portuguese partner, cooks a massive traditional dinner.
And if they fail?
If they fail, there is no reward. They just eat, cold sandwiches.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
He's effectively gamifying his own exhaustion.
Exactly.
By introducing that game show energy, he manufactures a sense of urgency that just overrides the physical fatigue. It reminds me of gamifying your worst chores, but, with tens of thousands of euros on the line.
That's exactly what it is. And it's similar to the constraint he introduces on day 9.
What happens on day 9?
They need to build an outdoor kitchen. But the self-imposed rule is that it can only be built using reclaimed, scavenged materials.
Wow.
And they place a live budget counter on the screen, strictly capped at €500.
So wait, turning your life into a high-stakes game show actually makes you work harder.
Surprisingly, yes. Because constraints breed rapid creativity. Think about it. When you have unlimited time and an unlimited budget, you suffer from decision fatigue.
Oh, totally. You agonize over every little detail.
Right. You overthink the design, you wait weeks for custom parts to ship. But when your constraint is €500 in 24 hours, you grab whatever corrugated tin you can find, you figure out how to make it structurally sound, and you immediately move to the next task.
It's brilliant.
But I'd say the most revealing example of drama accelerating the work actually happens on day 4. It's an episode ominously titled Heat Kills.
That does not sound good.
It wasn't. The temperature in northern Portugal spikes to 38 degrees Celsius, which is pushing past 100 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh, that's brutal.
It is. The heat is so physically oppressive that all construction must completely halt by 1:00 p.m.
Now, in a traditional vlog format, losing half your workday to weather is usually framed as a massive, project-threatening disaster.
Yep. The creator complains to the camera, the dramatic music swells, and they just write the day off.
Right. So what does Paul do?
Well, instead of wallowing in the failure, this environmental crisis births what they call the siesta protocol.
The siesta protocol.
Yeah. The severe heat forces them to radically adapt their workflow. They realize, we cannot fight the sun. So they begin starting work at 6:00 a.m. in the cool morning air for the remainder of the 3 weeks.
Wow.
So a breakdown on day 4 permanently alters their system to be faster, cooler, and honestly far more efficient for the rest of the build.
So the environment forces an adaptation that actually secures the timeline.
Exactly.
But I know he also leverages the viewers to enforce his deadlines, right? Through public accountability.
Oh, big time.
On day 11, which is right at the halfway mark when the physical and mental burnout is absolutely peaking, he hosts a live Reddit Ask Me Anything session.
That's a bold move.
Super bold. He intentionally exposes himself to the most skeptical voices in his audience.
He just sits there and fields questions like, what if you completely fail? Or is this whole thing just a massive financial mistake?
Wow.
By confronting those doubts in a really public forum, he effectively burns his boats. Because when 10,000 people are watching to see if you quit, the psychological pain of public failure suddenly outweighs the physical pain of mixing more concrete.
That is so true. And this intense public pressure cooker naturally generates highly viral moments.
Right.
But, we have to contextualize what viral actually means in the landscape of 2026.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Because the algorithm typically demands hyper-stimulating content. We are talking about flashing graphics, jarring sound effects, a new camera angle every 3 seconds just to prevent you from swiping away.
It's exhausting.
It is. But Paul's strategy subverts every single algorithmic rule.
Yeah.
His top 5 performing episodes are the exact opposite of what media theorists would tell you to produce. Let's track how he breaks those rules. Because if the goal is to shatter the mold of typical reality TV, how does he handle the ultimate television trope, the big budget reveal?
Right. Usually shows hide the money.
Exactly. Traditional shows hide it, or they vaguely reference it at the very end with some glossy graphic. But Paul Wow's Day 21 bonus episode is literally called The Real Budget.
Oh, I love this word.
He doesn't summarize anything. He puts a raw spreadsheet on the screen, and he walks the viewer through every single receipt, invoice, and screw purchased over the 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It is radical financial transparency.
And that level of transparency acts as a massive pattern interrupt for a viewer who is just accustomed to polished illusions.
Absolutely.
And he applies that exact same philosophy of raw intimacy to day 17. It's an episode titled The Night Before.
Okay.
The visuals are completely stripped away. It's 3:00 a.m. and the screen is pitch black, showing only the faint stars over the Portuguese wilderness. There is no B-roll of construction. You, as the viewer, are simply listening to a voiceover of Paul in the dark, ruthlessly scratching unfinished tasks off his notepad because the clock has run out.
That's so tense.
It really is. The intimacy of that moment pulls you in far closer than a sweeping drone shot ever could.
But the absolute pinnacle of this anti-algorithmic strategy, hands down, is day 12.
Oh, the burnout episode.
Yes, famously projected as the burnout episode. The mechanics of this episode are just fascinating because they defy every single modern convention of retention hacking.
Describe what he does.
So Paul sets up the camera, locks it off on a wide shot, and he just sits down on a pile of dirt.
Okay.
And for 3 full minutes, nothing happens.
Literally nothing.
Literally nothing. There are no jump cuts. There is no underlying melancholic soundtrack to tell you how to feel. He looks directly into the lens and says, day 12, I sat here for 20 minutes and didn't move. This is at 20 minutes. Yeah. And then he just sits in complete dead silence.
In an era of hyper-edited 3-second hooks, how on earth does a 3-minute unedited shot of a tired guy sitting in silence go viral?
Right. It sounds crazy.
But the psychology behind why that specific 3-minute clip works is profound. When you are scrolling through a feed that is constantly screaming at you, bombarding your prefrontal cortex with bright colors and frantic energy, well, your brain naturally builds up a defense mechanism.
You just get numb to it all.
Exactly. You become numb to the noise. So suddenly, you swipe to a video of genuine, unvarnished exhaustion. Someone offering you 3 minutes of absolute silence creates an inescapable gravitational pull.
Like a breath of fresh air.
Right. It demands your empathy. It signals to your brain, this is not a performance. The fatigue is real. The stakes are real. And that silence builds a reservoir of trust with the audience that no amount of flashy editing or clever copywriting could ever achieve.
And building that trust isn't just about, farming views or inflating a subscriber count. It serves a very specific structural purpose for his business model.
How so?
Because if you are listening to this and thinking the audience is just passively watching a guy suffer for entertainment, you're missing the true genius of the architecture here.
Okay.
Paul is actively converting the audience from passive observers into literal co-creators of the physical space.
Yes. He fundamentally blurs the line between the consumer and the architect.
It's wild.
Let's look at the mechanics of day 14. It's labeled Viewer Decision Day. Throughout the entire workday, Paul stops to run 5 live polls on his social feeds.
Okay, live polls.
Right. He presents binary choices to the audience, and whatever the crowd votes for, he physically builds.
The logistics of that are insane. He's standing there with a shovel, just waiting for the internet to decide if the outdoor gym goes under the oak trees or next to the main caravan.
Yep.
And once the poll closes, he has to execute their decision on the spot. It's like Kickstarter meets Twitch plays Pokemon. You're watching a live-action video game where the crowd literally has the controller.
That's a perfect way to put it. And gamifying the build process establishes a profound sense of ownership for the viewer.
Totally.
Like, before they even pour the first foundation, they run a predict the budget contest. The audience studies the raw land and guesses the final to-the-penny cost of the 21-day sprint.
Oh, that's clever.
And the 3 closest predictions win a free stay at the retreat. They also hold a public vote to name the caravan.
So you're invested from day one.
Exactly. If you were sitting on your couch in Ohio and you helped name the central structure of this retreat in Portugal, you no longer view it as just a video on your phone.
Right.
You view it as partly yours. You want to see it succeed, and more importantly, you want to visit it in the real world.
Which perfectly sets up the monetization engine of the entire project.
Yes, it does.
Because he doesn't wait until the retreat is finished and polished to start selling tickets.
Yeah.
He bakes the business model directly into the most emotionally resonant moments of the drama arc.
And exactly how he launches the Founding Guest program is a complete study in consumer psychology.
Tell me about that.
So, on day 10, during one of those really quiet, reflective campfire scenes where the audience feels deeply connected to his struggle.
An emotional episode.
Exactly, an emotional beat.
Hmm.
During that, he opens up early bookings. He offers a pilot night stay for €150, but he strictly caps the availability at 100 people.
Oh, wow. So he introduces severe scarcity at the exact moment emotional investment is highest.
Precisely. People are watching the sanctuary literally emerge from the mud, and they are overcome with the fear of missing out. FOMO.
They want to prove they were there from the dirt floor beginnings.
Right, long before it becomes a polished, fully booked destination.
That's brilliant.
And he follows the exact same psychological blueprint on day 15 with the launch of the supporter stones.
The supporter stones, what are those?
For €30, a viewer can purchase a tangible piece of the build. Their name is physically written on a stone that is permanently cemented into the foundation of the outdoor gym.
I love that.
And you have to ask, why does someone pay €30 for a rock?
Right, why?
Because in a digital landscape where content disappears in 24 hours and everything feels transient, he is selling permanence. He is offering a physical legacy in a digital world.
Wow. And the engagement loops just keep stacking up, too.
Yeah.
Like on day 18, he initiates this massive Easter egg hunt.
Oh, yeah.
He hides a small, obscure symbol somewhere in the background of the daily video. Viewers literally have to physically pause, rewind, and scrub frame by frame through the footage to locate it.
That's dedication.
And the first person to find it wins a free stay. But think about what the algorithm sees. It sees thousands of people re-watching and pausing the video, which signals massive engagement, so it pushes the content even further.
It feeds the machine while subverting it.
Exactly. But zooming out from the tactics for a second,
Sure.
what does this hyper-focused 21-day sprint actually teach us about the reality of building in public in the year 2026?
I think the ultimate takeaway is a complete redefinition of what building in public actually means now.
Okay, how so?
For the last decade, that phrase usually referred to software developers sharing screenshots of their code, or, founders tweeting their monthly recurring revenue.
Yeah, tech stuff.
Right. But Paul is taking that ethos and applying it to physical, tangible infrastructure. But achieving this level of real-time storytelling while performing exhausting manual labor, it's only possible because of the specific technological moment we are in right now.
That's a great point.
The strategy documents reveal a meticulously designed live-first workflow.
Right. Because, let's be real, he isn't spending 10 hours a day swinging a sledgehammer and then sitting down at a laptop in the dirt to spend another 6 hours editing footage in Premiere Pro.
No, he would physically collapse.
He'd die.
Precisely. He is streaming the raw reality using a mobile rig connected to a Starlink dish in the wilderness, and he relies entirely on an automated AI stack.
The AI is doing the heavy lifting digitally.
Yes. He uploads the raw, rambling video files from his phone directly to AI tools. The software analyzes the audio, identifies the most dramatic or emotional 60 seconds of the day, automatically crops the frame for a vertical phone screen, generates the subtitles, and publishes the clips across multiple platforms.
All while he's literally still mixing the next batch of concrete.
Exactly. The AI acts as the entire post-production team.
So the human brings the sweat, the struggle, and the physical vision, and the artificial intelligence just handles all the tedious digital distribution.
It's a fascinating symbiosis. You strip away the polished production crew, you introduce extreme financial and temporal constraints, and you invite the entire world to participate in the messy, exhausting, silent moments of the process.
It creates a completely new paradigm for creators. The audience isn't paying for perfection anymore.
Not at all.
They are paying for the privilege of witnessing the struggle.
Yeah.
They are funding the effort, not just the outcome.
Exactly.
It really leaves you with a lingering, almost philosophical question about where content is heading.
Oh, for sure.
Because if this highly structured, gamified vulnerability is the most effective way to build a real-world business today, what does that say about the future of human effort?
That's the big question.
As artificial intelligence continues to effortlessly generate text and video and code, will the ultimate luxury for future creators simply be the act of suffering through hard physical labor on camera, just to prove to the audience that they are still human?
Wow.
Would live streaming your own grueling struggles and gamifying your lowest moments make you more likely to succeed?
It's a wild thought.
It's definitely something to chew on the next time you find yourself staring at your own overgrown plot of land, trying to figure out how to build something real.